Welcome back to the Bitcoin Treasuries podcast. I'm Tim Kotzman. I'm here with Mason Foard. Mason, thanks for being here in the studio.
Thanks for having me, Tim. I'm a huge fan of the show, and it's kind of surreal being here in person.
Yeah, this is a very cool room.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Very cool studio.
Seeing the whole office, Palm Space, it's amazing.
Yeah, Midtown Manhattan. It doesn't get any realer than that.
No, a lot of suits, a lot of vests.
A lot of Patagonia.
A lot of Patagonia, yeah.
Can you tell us about your background, your journey to Bitcoin, True North, Méliuz? Yeah, there's been a lot of action over the last couple years.
All of it. Well, I think the first thing people notice about me is that I'm young, right? When I go to these conferences, people come up and they're kind of bewildered about,
bewilderment intensifying.
Bewilderment is intensifying. And so I usually back up and I tell people about my mom, who was a stockbroker at one point in her life. She introduced me to equities when I was around 10 or 11 years old. In fifth grade, I was actually giving a presentation on the stock market and how shares worked, how dividends, etc. So I've really, ever since I was young, I've been kind of obsessed with the stock market, equities, and money in general. And from that point when I was 11, I started trading my own account. My own UTMA account, which my parents controlled, but I just told them what buttons to push and what to buy and what to sell. And I was actually pretty successful with it, just buying what Saylor would call the big tech monopolies, Apple, Tesla, etc. And I continued doing that until 2020 when COVID happened, and I'm from a very rural part of the Northeast, and I was locked up in my house, and I started thinking about what was happening in the economy. And what I observed was asset prices, whether it's equities or real estate, were at all-time highs, yet Main Street, the real economy, was suffering. And I started to think a little bit more intentionally about what money is, how money functions. Why do we invest in the first place? Why do you need to put your money into real estate or equities? It was just kind of something that I assumed I needed to do, and I kind of focused in on that. And what I found was that our money is fundamentally broken. And that everyone on Earth, whether you're an individual, a corporation, an institution, has the same issue, which is how do you preserve economic energy throughout time and space? And that's how I found Bitcoin, and figures like Michael Saylor and Jeff Booth, Price of Tomorrow, which is an absolutely great book if you haven't read it. These figures just help me educate myself through YouTube or just online, really. And so I quickly converted all of my equities, all of my stocks into Bitcoin in a pretty rapid fashion. And of course, that was close to the top. And then I just watch it crash down from the top to 16K, which was brutal. And I was in college at the time, but I stuck with it. And in the bear market in 2022 and 2023, I started aggressively buying MSTR. I started buying Microstrategy because I kind of assumed that the largest company in the world would be the company with the most amount of Bitcoin. It was just a pretty simple thought process for me. Mm-hmm. And I started connecting with other individuals on Twitter X who were also talking about it, researching it. And I formed Irresponsibly Long MSTR, which is, infamously loved and hated. And I connected with Ryan and Jeff after they posted Quantbros 1. And I sent them a DM. I think it was Ryan. I sent, hey, you guys, like, this is the biggest story in finance. This is the biggest story in the world, in my opinion. Can I interview you guys? and this was pre Tim Kotzman. So I hop on a Zoom with them, and I put on like a sweater, and I interview with them. And I still to this day I have the first Quant Bros interview ever. And immediately after, the day after, it went great. I had all my questions lined up, Tim Kotzman style. And Jeff called me and he said, "Hey, I don't know what I'm going to do, but I want to work with you. Like, I know this is big and I want you to be around. So let's keep in touch." And ever since that moment, I think that was the spring of 2024, we've been in contact. And when he formed True North, it was kind of like the Avengers. He was plucking people, and he asked me to come on, and I was like, I sure. Like, I don't feel very qualified for this, but I did, and I was kind of blown away with the feedback that I got. It was highly positive, and I've really loved the journey and kind of the friendships that I've formed with all the members of True North, not only Jeff, but Ben, Tim, yourself, Dan, Grain, Adrian, all of them. It's been fantastic. And True North really forced me to, go out into the world, go to different conferences. I went to Strategy World, and that's actually where I met the founder of Méliuz, my current company, Israel, who at the time in the spring of 2024 had just announced that they were the first Bitcoin treasury company in Brazil. And at the time I was still in college. So I said that, that's fantastic. Let's keep in touch. And this past summer, when I was graduated and I was trying to figure out what to do in the space, because more than anything, I wanted to be in Bitcoin. He reached out to me, and I was speaking to a few other companies, and I was really fascinated with the opportunity of being the first Bitcoin treasury company, not only in Brazil, but in Latin America, and the potential of making a real impact in a continent which deserves Bitcoin, more than any other continent, arguably. And I believe Latin America in general is ripe for Bitcoin adoption. They've experienced a lot of hyperinflation, a lot of just general economic instability, political instability, and Bitcoin is a solution to everyone's problems. But Latin America specifically, and there's also a lot of crypto adoption, which has happened there natively through stablecoin use and other forms of crypto. So that's how I got involved with Bitcoin, True North, and Méliuz, and now I've been at Méliuz for a little bit over a month and a half, 2 months now, and I'm really excited about the direction we're going in.
So you're the director of Bitcoin strategy at Méliuz.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about the background of the company and kind of walk us through like the current positioning and strategy involved?
Yeah. So Méliuz was founded in 2011. So it's been around for a long time. And essentially what it is, it's a e-commerce platform that allows its users to get cash back on purchases. It's a pretty simple idea. And they have an app as well. And within that app, they also provide financial services and things such as credit card and other kinds of financial services as well, including the purchasing and selling of Bitcoin. So the app or the platform has currently 43 million users, which is pretty significant in the Brazilian market. And it facilitates a ton of economic activity within Brazil. And when Israel, our founder and chairman, kind of decided to take Méliuz in the direction of Bitcoin, they had a lot of cash, and what they decided to do was sweep it into Bitcoin, and then sweep all the profits from its operating business into Bitcoin. And where we stand today is we currently have 605 Bitcoin with around $12 million of operating just cash, and then a profitable operating business that generates around $14.3 million of EBITDA. Right now, we are trading pretty close to our par value of our Bitcoin holdings plus our cash. So our operating business, from a valuation standpoint, is effectively not priced in. So what we recently decided to do was a share buyback where we're buying back 10% of the free floating shares. So that's one thing that we are doing to increase Bitcoin per share, along with a few other strategies that I can get into if you would like.
Yeah. Keep going.
Should we do it? Okay. Another strategy that we have beyond sweeping our free cash flow, which if you assume that our average price was 150,000 a coin using our free cash flow, we would buy around 60 coins, which would be a 10% Bitcoin yield at this point. So we're at this a certain size where just from our free cash flow, we're able to generate substantial Bitcoin yield. Beyond that, we have a derivative strategy where we're selling cash secured puts on Bitcoin. And what that effectively allows us to do, it's fully collateralized by 10% of our cash. So if the put is not exercised, we keep the premium and buy Bitcoin with it. And if it is exercised, then we've bought Bitcoin at a lower price, right? So we view it as a win-win for us, and it's just another tool in our tool belt where we can generate Bitcoin yield accretively.
Was there anything that surprised you or was different in taking on this director role than what maybe you thought? Because until you do something, it's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I think I know what's going to happen.
I think the most surprising thing has been my experience with the Brazilian markets, which I'm still getting familiar with. My point of view prior to joining Méliuz was very US-centric, and very US-centric when it came to Bitcoin treasury companies in general. So when you enter a new region, a new capital market, there's new environmental conditions which shape what you can and can't do. And that has to do with regulation, cost of capital, robustness of the markets generally. And so what I will say about the Brazilian environment is that it generally has a high cost of capital currently, around 15%. And because of that high cost of capital, for us right now, I think our strategy is really focused on the free cash flow aspect of the business to generate Bitcoin yield rather than taking debt. And I think taking debt is something that we definitely want to pursue in the future. But right now, we're really focused on building our Bitcoin collateral stack and trying to get as much Bitcoin on the balance sheet as possible. And in the future, of course, if we're trading at a premium to our Bitcoin and hopefully our operating business, we would like to sell equity in some form. But right now in Brazil, there's no ATM shelf offering. So right now we're looking into kind of alternative equivalents to an ATM program, but we haven't announced anything.
Has there been any difference in the conversations when you're going to events or interacting with people in the community now that you're in a role as opposed to before when it was like, you're part of True North and I think he's in college, that sort of thing.
Yeah, I definitely feel the need to be more professional. I'm here in a suit today. I'm representing my company. I'm representing myself, representing Brazil, and there's a new weight and a new responsibility. But other than that, my first time going to a conference, being associated with True North, I was just blown away by the kind of the respect that was shown to me, at my age, and the general feedback that I got. So I don't think that's really changed. I will say there is a general sentiment dip, as long with price dip in Bitcoin treasury companies, and I think broadly that dampens investor participation and general discussion. But we're in a very Bitcoin is a very cyclical asset, and I think Bitcoin treasuries will be highly cyclical as well. And I think we kind of had a blow off top euphoric peak earlier this spring, and we are in a period of kind of consolidation and letting the dust settle.
Can you walk us through some more specifics on the regulatory or any other front between the Brazilian market and the U.S. market or other markets?
Yeah, I think it's pretty well known that each market has its kind of idiosyncratic differences. For example, in Japan, equities, or rather Bitcoin/crypto, is taxed as at a higher rate than equities. And right now in the Brazilian government, there's a similar debate happening right now, because currently there is a small sales exemption for crypto/Bitcoin monthly, which is around $6,500 a month that you can sell tax free, which personally I'm very pro for, and I think Méliuz is very pro crypto tax exemptions. But right now there's some debate of whether or not that should continue. If that were to be repealed, there would still be a tax exemption for small sales on equities, which would be around 11,000. I think it's 11.3 a quarter, which is still significant. So that would definitely be a tailwind for Bitcoin related equities within Brazil. But that being said, we're definitely not rooting for it. At Méliuz, we're Bitcoin maximalists and generally freedom maximalists, and we love the small sales tax exemption. So we'll see how that pans out in the months to come. But that's just an example of how equities generally has better treatment than Bitcoin.
Got it. What is the general understanding of both Bitcoin as an asset class and Bitcoin treasury companies in Brazil?
Yeah, well, it's funny enough, crypto adoption in Brazil is actually higher than equity adoption, which there's more people in using crypto in Brazil than have brokerage accounts, which is fascinating. But on the other hand, Brazil had a Bitcoin ETF before the US. They actually had one in 2019, which is pretty fascinating. And what I would generally say about Bitcoin treasury adoption, I would say in Brazil, people generally understand the issue of inflation and understand how Bitcoin solves that problem. I would say that Brazil is a little bit behind in education about what a Bitcoin treasury company is and how it functions. But I think we're in a unique position where we can talk to investors, we can talk to institutions, talk to funds, all of them Brazilian, and offer them a investment that's a little bit more palatable than Bitcoin purely, which is we have an operating business which has free cash flow as well as our Bitcoin. right? So having kind of that hybrid model is potentially a little bit more appealing for investors in Brazil who don't necessarily understand the quote unquote pure play Bitcoin treasury. But I think education will continue, and that's something that we're working on. My colleague Diego is, going out and doing interviews, Tim Kotzman style, and trying to educate the market in Brazil. And of course, I'm here in the U.S. Trying to educate the U.S. about the Brazilian market as well. So I think that's something that we're really focused on in Méliuz, and something that we're going to continue to progress on.
It sounds like there's a lot of good work to do.
Yeah, there's a lot of work to do. I think that's something when you're in the Bitcoin treasury space, you realize how nascent this phenomenon is, how new Bitcoin equities are, how new digital credit is as an idea. That's a brand new asset class that was invented this year, right? So every day I'm amazed that I get to be living at this point in time, in this point in history. And I'm also amazed that I get to be at the forefront of it, not only, on the media side with True North, but also in Brazil, representing not only Brazil, but an entire continent. So I wake up every day astonished.
I'll throw it over to you if you have any closing thoughts, and of course, let everyone know where they can find you.
Yeah, of course.
And the firm online.
Yeah. So, my closing thoughts would be every capital market throughout the globe is going to have a unique environment, and companies functioning within those environments are going to do unique and different things. And although I can't fully say what our plan is yet, I would just say keep an eye out for us, because I think we'll be doing some extremely interesting things within the Bitcoin treasury space. Yeah, beyond that, you can find us at Méliuz Bitcoin. You can find me at Mason Foard, Foard. Tim, thank you so much for having me today, man. I appreciate it.
And don't forget about True North.
Yeah, don't forget about True North. I'm on every other Wednesday or so.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks for coming into the studio, and we look forward to following along and being in touch from time to time.
Of course. Thank you, Tim.
Bitcoin custody is evolving, and OnRamp leads this change with multi-institution custody, eliminating single points of failure. Instead of one institution or complex private keys, OnRamp secures your Bitcoin in a segregated, cold storage, multi-sig vault backed by 3 independent, institutional-grade custodians. No single custodian can move funds by themselves, providing an unprecedented level of security that traditional custody solutions simply can't match. Protected by a $100 million Lloyd's of London insurance policy, all transactions are fully auditable on-chain, never rehypothecated, and executed only at your explicit direction. This means complete transparency and control over your assets at all times. Beyond custody, OnRamp delivers comprehensive Bitcoin financial services, including lending, trading, inheritance planning, IRAs, and more. OnRamp functions as your private banking partner, coordinating key holder activity, removing technical burdens, and providing a personalized, trust-minimized experience tailored to your specific wealth preservation goals. Whether you're new to Bitcoin or an experienced holder, OnRamp's approach helps secure generational wealth with unmatched security and peace of mind. Visit onrampbitcoin.com today to learn more, sign up, or book a free consultation with their team of Bitcoin custody experts. Hey guys, today's episode is brought to you by Stampseed. If you're in cold storage, you know how important it is to protect your seed phrase. That's why I recommend you head over to stampseed.com and check it out for yourself. This seed phrase storage device is one solid piece of titanium. There are no loose pieces, and you can hammer your seed phrase in letter by letter. When you go to stampseed.com, use promo code TIM15 for a 15% discount across the website. That's TIM15. Join us at the Win in Las Vegas, February 23rd through the 26th, 2026, for Bitcoin for Corporations. Use code KOTZ when you grab your tickets at strategy.com, and we'll see you there. This episode is brought to you by Arch Lending, the premier provider of crypto-backed loans designed for both individual and institutional investors. At Arch, your digital assets work for you without selling them. Arch offers flexible loan options tailored to your needs. Backed by industry leaders like Morgan Creek Digital, Castle Island Ventures, and Galaxy Ventures, Arch Lending is setting a new standard in crypto-backed lending. Are you ready to unlock the potential of your crypto assets? Visit archlending.com to learn more and configure your loan today. Are you looking for comprehensive analytics on corporate Bitcoin adoption? Strategy Tracker delivers real-time insights into how companies are executing their Bitcoin strategies completely free. Monitor NAV premiums, cost basis performance, and track how corporate Bitcoin treasuries perform against the market. Upgrade to Premium for just $3.99 a month and unlock exclusive benefits like detailed market rankings, real-time trading volume analysis, and advanced performance metrics for corporations embracing Bitcoin. Apply code KOTZ at checkout for 100% off your first month of premium. Strategy Tracker is your essential tool for measuring the effectiveness of corporate Bitcoin strategies. Visit strategytracker.com and gain the analytical edge in understanding the Bitcoin treasury phenomenon.